Alright guys, so now we're going to get into the build guide of this video. First we need to remove the side panel of the case. Remove the SATA cable and then the power cable and slide the DVD CD-ROM tray out. Next we need to remove the hard drive, so to do so, slide the blue lever to the right, lift, and again remove the SATA and the power cable. Many of these Dell Optiplexes come with either 4 or 8 GB of RAM. Unfortunately, ours only came with 4 GB, so we are going to install an additional 4 GB of RAM. This model Optiplex only has 2 RAM slots with a max capacity of 8 GB, so we are maxing out performance by installing 8 GB of RAM. Now we want to remove the CPU fan. To do so, unscrew the 4 screws that hold the CPU fan in place. Make sure to unplug the 2 cables connected into the motherboard, and then lift up on the CPU fan. While the CPU fan is removed, take this opportunity to blow out the dust in the vent. As this system came out all the way back in 2011, the thermal paste on the CPU is going to be old and dry. Grab a Q-tip and some rubbing alcohol and gently wipe off the old thermal paste. Also, don't forget to remove the dried up thermal paste on the bottom of the CPU fan. You may need to use a razor blade to remove some of the large clumps. As we are replacing the original side panel with a custom Plexiglass panel, we no longer need this lever. To remove, slide all the way over to the right and wiggle back and forth with some brute force. Eventually, it will release from its tracks. You also want to remove this blue piece of plastic attached to the power supply, as this is one of the spaces we are going to place our LED strips. Speaking of the LED strips, we also have to remove this black plastic component temporarily, as this is also one of the spots we will be placing our LED strips. You can buy PC LED strips on their own for a few bucks a piece, but we bought this complete kit including 2 strips, a remote, and power supply for just $10 right on eBay. This kit includes 2 LED strips, the remote, all required adapter pieces, and the power supply that connects to Molex. As the power supply in the Dell Optiplex doesn't come with any Molex adapters, you have to buy a SATA to Molex adapter on eBay for a couple of bucks. Now take one of your LED strips and remove the protective film covering the adhesive back. These strips have an adhesive back as well as a magnetic back for ultimate hold. Align the LED strip at the top of the case about 6 inches to the right. This is the spot where we removed the lever that held the original side panel in place. Now you see why we removed it. The bottom left side of the LED strip wants to line up where the graphic card slot is. Now place the black plastic component we previously removed back in its socket. Take this opportunity to apply new thermal paste to the CPU before installing the CPU fan. Don't go crazy, you only need about a pea-sized shape worth. Next, screw the CPU fan back in place and make sure to plug in both cables back into the motherboard. Now we can move on to the second LED strip that will be placed along the power supply. Just like before, remove the protective film from the adhesive back. Align the LED strip about 1 inch down from the top of the power supply and make sure to route the end of the LED strip through the bottom of the power supply cables. And this should go without saying, make sure the power supply or any of the metal units are free of dust, as this will prevent the LED strip from sticking to it. Congratulations, you've gotten through the hardest part of this build. Now we're going to move on to installing the graphics card, and in this build, we're using the AMD Radeon R7 250. To install the graphics card, lift up on the PCIe latch. Make sure the cables are out of the way, align the graphics card with the PCI slot, and press down firmly. In this video, we did a very poor job with our cable management, but you can do a much better job by using zip ties to secure the cables. Cable management near the graphics card is very important. We can now install the hard drive back into the computer, but we don't want to fully secure it. Make sure to plug the SATA cable and the power cable into the hard drive. Take the SATA to Molex adapter that we spoke about during the LED strip section and plug it into the power supply open SATA cable. Now take the Molex end and plug it into the Molex power adapter that came with the LED strip. And this is the reason why we didn't completely secure the hard drive when we just installed it, as we are going to take these cables and tuck them under the hard drive. You can now fully secure the hard drive in place by pulling the blue lever to the right. Plug the LED strip power cable into the LED strip controller box. You can place it directly in between the CPU fan and the hard drive. It fits nice and snug. These 8-pin connectors came with the LED strip kit and allow the controller box to hook up to each LED strip. Plug those in now. Again, it is very important you make sure these cables do not hit the fan on the graphics card. Make sure the antenna on the LED controller box is placed above all other cables so it can be read by the LED remote. Now you can reinstall the DVD CD-ROM drive by sliding it back into the computer. Make sure to install the SATA cable in the power adapter. Now plug the computer in to make sure the LEDs light up and your newly installed graphics card and RAM are recognized. Now take the remote and make sure that the LED controller box that you just installed is registering all the different colors from the remote input. So let's move on to the final step. As previously stated, we are replacing the original Dell Optiplex side panel with a Plexiglass panel. These Plexiglass panels can be bought at any local hardware store for a couple of bucks. They can be cut down to any size with a basic razor blade and a ruler. After cutting many sheets of plexiglass, we found we could not produce results in the quality that we wanted. The cuts that we made just straight up did not look professional. Just like everything else, there are hundreds of sellers selling plexiglass on eBay, and they will even pre-cut the plexiglass to the size that you want. I'll link the supplier we used in the video description. I'm no tool expert, so drilling holes in the side of the computer case to hold the plexiglass is not something I wanted to do. In this build, we're using neodymium magnets. These are some of the strongest magnets available for purchase, and only cost a couple of bucks for a 10-pack. The kind that we bought even have a 3M adhesive backing, which is perfect. Place a total of 5 magnets on the left and right side of the case, making sure that they're on the metal part. Peel the protective sticker from the adhesive backing. And then place a tiny dab of super glue on the middle of each magnet. Align the plexiglass sheet very carefully over the magnets, making sure that it's centered. Please take your time with this step, because if you mess up and rush, you will get glue on places of the plexiglass that you didn't want it, and it's very, very difficult to remove. Apply pressure on top of the plexiglass until you see the superglue has completely covered each magnet. Once satisfied, place a somewhat heavy object on the plexiglass and let dry for at least 24 hours. Once dry, the magnets will stick to the plexiglass like a charm, leaving you with an awesome custom clear side panel. If you did unfortunately mess up and smudge some of the superglue, it can be removed with some elbow grease and rubbing alcohol. I really hope you enjoyed today's video. We put a lot of time and effort into bringing you original content that not many other YouTubers are talking about. There are a few reasons I created the video you just watched. Many YouTubers create these quote-unquote $100 builds, but find insane deals on parts they found locally at places like garage sales and Craigslist. Half the time, I call BS on these deals, but more importantly, this isn't fair to you guys, the viewers, as you cannot replicate these deals. When I say this is a $100 build, it means you can literally go online and buy these parts for $100 or less. All components used in this video will be linked in the video description. The other reason I created this video is for the person looking to get into PC gaming but doesn't want to spend an arm and a leg. Or for a matter of fact, for a person just wanting to get into gaming in general. This build is 1/3 of the price of a new PS4, which is $300, and half the price of a new Xbox One at $200, and it can virtually run all the same games. So, with that being said, if your eyes enjoyed what they just witnessed, please take the time, slap the like button. It helps us out more than you know. And if you want to see more videos just like this one, subscribe. We post original tech videos weekly. Later, guys.